leadership contender Karina Gould is speaking. She's being asked about Trump's tariffs. Let's listen in here.
Every single Canadian, that is first and foremost, and let me be very clear, our sovereignty is non-negotiable and it will never be on the table. When it comes to NATO, okay, well, the U.S. is not at 5% either. So look, I think we are definitely in a world where we need to make sure that we have adequate defense spending. We are in a whole different geopolitical context than we were even 5 years ago. And so I think this is something that we're going to have to talk about as NATO members in terms of what that means. Canada still has a ways to go when it comes to getting to 2%. We've committed to doing that, but we also need to address some of the challenges in our armed forces. Look, our CAF personnel, they are not paid adequately and sufficiently, and that's one of the issues that we have when it comes to recruitment and when it comes to retention. We also need to address our procurement. One of the things that I would do immediately is appoint a procurement czar, because it takes too long for us to get the defense equipment that we need. And then, of course, we have to have a conversation with our allies about what our Western defense alliance looks like in the face of what are more aggressive actors around the world. So these are things that we absolutely have to be talking about, and I think it's really important for our military personnel to know that if I was the leader of the Liberal Party, if I was the Prime Minister, that I would have their backs because they've had our backs.
Would you be ready to commit to 5%? Mr. Trump spoke about that this morning, the equivalent of 5% of the GDP in military spending. Mr. Trump needs to see how the U.S. is going to get to 5% because they're not there now. Canada is committed to achieving 2%. But it's true, we find ourselves in a different world given the geopolitical situation at this time. There are many things that we should be doing to support our own armed forces. As I just said in English, our military personnel are not receiving adequate pay, and that's one of the biggest problems that we have in attracting and retaining our personnel. We really need to change how we do procurement. And that's procurement of our military equipment. There are many things that we need to do to truly be supporting our Canadian Armed Forces. However, at the same time protecting Canada and the Western Defense Alliance, given the threats that we are facing.
Ms. Freeland came out today and said that the next Liberal leader, caucus, should have the ability to initiate a leadership review to replace the leader, so the situation that happened with Justin Trudeau doesn't happen again. What do you make of that idea?
Well, look, the Michael Chong bill is something that caucus decides. When we were elected in 2015, that was something that caucus chose. The caucus to vote on. That's one of the requirements after an election. And, I'm not going to make a pronouncement one way or the other because at the end of the day, that is a caucus decision.
If elected, you talked about the GST continuing that break on it for certain items. Why not keep it for all items on the list that the government currently has?
Because I'm not sure that we need a permanent GST cut on Christmas trees and Hanukkah bushes, by the way. I don't actually know that many people that have Hanukkah bushes. But what I can say is that for parents, you got to buy diapers, you got to buy food, you got to buy children's clothing, and those are big expenses for people, and that's why I would make that permanent. Okay, merci, thank you.
All right, so listening to Karina Gould there, she is going into a caucus meeting there and commenting with reporters. She is one of the people jumping into the race to replace Justin Trudeau. The deadline to jump into the race is coming up at 5 o'clock Eastern, and the party will choose its next leader by the 9th of March, so a little over 6 weeks from now.